Okay, hopefully this works. I don't know. We'll see here. Is this actually going to work? I think the stream, I hate to say it, OBS does not seem to want to work with the so called YouTube connection with your account stuff. So I went ahead and tried doing that before and it didn't work. So, welcome to the Voice of Metal. Hopefully, this will become far greater than what it actually starts off as. I know it might seem dull and boring at first for some people, because this is going to be me. But hopefully later on I can get some people on here. We'll see what happens if people like and subscribe, and it gets to become a lot bigger, which I'm hoping will. And it'll be because of you guys, the audience themselves, to help bring that to light, basically to pass. So if I have enough people watching and viewing that people are going to want to take, some of the bands and the people that are in those bands want to be promoted, this would be a good platform for them to say, hey, I'm going to reach out to the fans, this, that, and the other. I know they all have their own YouTube channels, but this is a great place for a bunch of different stuff and maybe something a little more intimate and personal, because for me, that's what it is. It's about community, it's about, you know, things that we enjoy, things that we love, being connected as far as the metal family per se, as Corey would say. And I'm hoping that that will happen because I think he's a phenomenal person, along with all the other bands that I've met, and they're all great people. Maybe some things happen where they get a little bit, maybe a misunderstanding. So I'm hoping to fix that problem too, because I have had that thing. I've gotten yelled at by a rock star. I will say that, and I'm not really proud of it, but it's something that not too many people can say, I guess. Anyway, so hopefully maybe I can get them on here. Hopefully eventually, and some other people like some local bands here in Colorado, where I'm from. And I would love to see this grow into something because I know that a lot of rock bands right now are coming back. I've seen a lot more people putting out albums in 2022. It's really weird. It's like the pandemic spurred all this new vibrant interest in getting back out there and going live, because I got to see Max and Igor Cavalera. I got to see Sepultura, but they've been playing for a while. But a Sacred Reich is one that I had heard about, I think, when I was growing up, but never listened to. And they are phenomenal. If you ever get a chance, check them out. They're awesome. They've been around for a long time. And the last album they put out was like when the bass player that they have now that's taking over for somebody that's health is not the best, and he cannot play right now with the band. Basically, he was saying that the last time they did an album was when he was probably about when he was like maybe a year old or not even born yet. So that gives you any idea of how long it has been since they have been performing, had a new album out. So that was their opportunity to do that. And I applaud them for doing that, especially the age that they are. Just like all the other bands are getting up there in age, we need some new fresh blood, which actually I'm hoping to have some new up and coming people. I know Infected Rain is a definitely younger group. So is Bloody Wood, and a couple others that are really awesome, very phenomenal. King 810, I still am trying to figure the the genre. I don't know if it's a new metal band, I guess, or stuff. Plus, there's also Skin, which is a industrial Swedish metal band. There's all kinds of bands out there. These are the ones that I've listened to recently, and with a streaming service, which I didn't have when I was younger, didn't have the opportunity to listen to all these different wonderful bands that are out there that are trying to make a living, doing what they love, doing what they enjoy, and I enjoy hearing them. And I've gotten to see them live on some of them, not as many as I had hoped to. And when my son was growing up, I didn't go to as many concerts then. I did before that, and now that he's older, I've been taking him to some of the concerts, especially the ones that I went to was his very first, which was one of my favorite bands, and that's the Butcher Babies. of course, but there's also other bands out there too. But I haven't been listening to much of their music because, like I said before, there's some things that happen, but I'm not going to get into all that. Um, it's rather interesting that he was saying and telling me that he likes rap, but the thing about it is it's rather interesting. He said that the music they played at his dance was not that great, right? Because they had to make it more PG and all this other stuff. So, which I can understand for a school because they got to be, sensitive to people's feelings, all this other stuff, especially in this day and age. Which actually, right now, this is one of those things that I feel like I've been kind of maybe in a coma for a while, and I popped out, and all of a sudden all this stuff's changed because my son's in high school, so I'm hearing a lot more of that now than I was before. But anyway, he loved that first concert, and he said that was way better than his school stuff. And we also went to see Mudvayne live. I think we saw some other bands together. I'm trying to remember which one it was. I know we saw Sepultura for sure. Max and Igor I saw myself. Slipknot I saw myself, which was the very first time. And yes, Corey, the reason why I wasn't there is because my son was growing up, and you guys started off around 2000 or a little afterwards, and I didn't get to see any shows before my son was born. So he was born like in 2004. So that's the reason why I wasn't at your concert. So but I still love the music, and I bought every single album except for like I think maybe one until recently because of the streaming services. You don't really have to buy the album, but you could. I just had I just didn't think about buying one. I haven't even bought even the bands I usually listen by. Except for Bloodywood. I did buy their album because they're new. It's their first album. So I thought this is going to be huge. This is going to be phenomenal. I've said that before all along. Every single one of the stuff, and I've shown this on Instagram before, on my Instagram account that I do my drawing with. Some of the actual albums that I've owned. It's kind of funny. The biggest albums that most of these bands have had are the ones that I own. It's because I love them, and I think I know. I don't know if it's like I know what I'm talking about, or if it's something else, or maybe I have some magical ability to predict what's going to be huge. For people who are fans. It's rather interesting. It's really cool, and I'm hoping that you will maybe take what advice that I might have of music and why I like the music that I've liked over the years, and I'm discovering new stuff, and I'm hoping that maybe that when I hear the old stuff, and it gets kind of rebirthed a little bit, bringing it back to to be huge and phenomenal, like Slayer. When I was growing up, I didn't listen to a lot of Slayer. I will admit, there's a lot of songs that when I was younger, I didn't get that exposure to, which is a sad thing for me because they're awesome. They're phenomenal. I've heard some of the stuff. Motorhead, I definitely have heard for a while, like Ace of Spades and all this other stuff. System was one that I got introduced to in 2000 with a friend of mine when we went to the Summer Sanitarium tour in Denver, where they were switching over from the old Mile High Stadium to Invesco Field, and that was a big, humongous mess. The parking lot was a mess. And then right after the concert, it was rather interesting. They had a concert with all these different bands like Hatebreed, I think, and there's a few I hadn't heard of. And then there's of course Slipknot and some other ones. That's when they were first. I think they were starting off too. And I was thinking, you got to be kidding me. There's all these bands here at one time. It's like, I think that's before I even knew what a festival was, and I don't even know if they had festivals then. I don't really know. But it's rather interesting that all this stuff was going on, and I wasn't certain if it was real. So we missed out. Me and him both. But one thing I do know, that when we were there live and seeing them perform, System was phenomenal. We hadn't heard of him before, and I asked my friends, like, "Do you know who the?" Nope, I have no idea. He kept up on certain bands more, a little more than I did at the time, because most of my stuff was like Megadeth, the radio songs you hear, the bands like that, and not these other bands. So it's like if they don't get the radio play, they don't get noticed, and that's that. And that's one of the reasons why I want to start this, because I want to introduce people that do not know this music. Hopefully, they'll watch this and say, "Hey, I want to check them out, see what they're like, see what they're about." Even if you don't like them, just explore. I've been trying to do that from Mongolian metal bands to Swedish metal bands to Russian metal bands to Chinese metal bands. I want to get those guys out there too, so people know who they are. Like baby metal, most people know who they are now, but there are other bands out there like Bandmaids. I can't think of it. Some of them are not quite so heavy. They're not really dark and deep, and then there are some that are dark and deep. So it'd be kind of interesting to try and listen to them and stuff like that. And if anybody has any suggestion, put it in the comments. Let me know. Let me, this is the way I learn. I discover new bands. I discover new music through social media, through YouTube, through all kinds of things. I mean, I get suggestions from YouTube Music. I do have a subscription to YouTube Music, not Spotify. So that's the only bad thing right now. But, I part of the reason why I like it is because, one, I don't have ads on YouTube. Two, I don't have to worry about the whole not being able to see the videos, because I enjoy the videos just as much as I do the music, because it's a creative endeavor. And when somebody puts in some effort into a video to make it something special and unique, it's really cool. Like Mud of Black with Carla and her friend from there, because she was in that and she was phenomenal, and her friend was too. They were both great musicians, and they had a cool car and all this other stuff, and they had a little fight scene and stuff, because I know somebody likes to do that. She did that when she was younger too. I mean, when she was first starting out, before she was a musician, and I knew about her long before then. So actually, it was kind of funny, but I've talked about this on my drawing channel, but I'm not gonna get into all that. And I guess I gotta get my bit rate up. They recommend a higher thing, so we'll see. I'll have to adjust that and make sure that I get that squared away. So for December 29th, 2023, this will be my first ever Voice of Metal podcast live thing. I don't know how often I'm going to do this right now. I'm still starting off, and I'm not even sure how far or how popular it will be. But I'm hoping that you guys will hopefully enjoy this and maybe sign up and see where it goes. Because I would love to have people on here, and like I said, if I get enough people watching, I get enough people subscribing, who knows what's going to happen. People are going to start to recognize it and say, "Hey, I want to be on here because there's people that are watching." And that's the key right there. Now, right now, I'm thinking 15 to 30 minutes, hopefully, for maybe the time frame in which to talk to people. And we won't always have somebody on here. We'll just talk about music and stuff like that. It'd be kind of cool if I had a live chat that maybe we could. It'd be nice if they had a way of, structuring the questions in a certain order on here, so that way you could actually try to answer those. I don't know all the answers, unfortunately, because, like I said, there's a lot of things I don't know. I just enjoy the music. I love the bands, and I don't know all the stories of what happened in the past and this, that, and the other. And some of the musicians, I don't always know their names. I do know Randy. Now I do. Yes, Randy. So from Stitched Up Heart. I know. It was funny. Here I am at the concert, right? And at the merchandising table, I never imagined that the actual musicians would be there at the merchandise table talking to people. And plus my glasses were not the best at the time, so he was kind of fuzzy, so I could see him, but I couldn't see him, so it wasn't. and because it was quite a ways away for me. I was kind of in the middle, I would say. But anyway, I made a complete fool of myself in front of the guy, but he's a great guy, very phenomenal musician. I loved hearing him play. So at least I could hear his music, and even if I didn't know who he was, so it's one of those things. You know, you might get a little embarrassed, but hey, what the heck? I mean, life's like that. There's always something going on. You never know what you're gonna end up running into. It was kind of interesting, some of the difference in audience groups for the two or three bands that I went to. Some were a little more tame, some were a little more rough. Max and Igor Cavalera, that was packed. It was absolutely packed in that place. And the other bands were full, but they weren't packed. These, I mean, we're like sweating, like, we're like kind of like this, kind of like Mudvayne. Mudvayne was like that too. It was insane, but that was like really awesome. And yes, Spider, you did a phenomenal job this time. You redeemed yourself in my eyes when it comes to the whole band, the music, and everything compared to 2000. I told somebody, it's like they didn't perform as well as I had hoped. So I was hoping that maybe later on, if I ever saw them again, that I'd give them another opportunity, which I did. They were with Mudvayne, so that's cool. I think that's a great way to find out what they're all, as far as if they're really as good or whatnot. It always seemed better on the record, but usually live performance a little more off the cuff. There's minor imperfections, mistakes, and things like that, but that's what makes a live event better than just an album. Anybody can listen to an album and say, yes, I love this album, but when you hear them live, you hear the thunder and the pounding and the sound of and all the audience around you, that energy, so wonderful. It brings you up, makes you feel like, wow, it's so energizing, and they feed off of you and you feed off of them, and it's just like poof, it's magic. Magic, I guess that's the way to do it. Magic. It's magic and metal, the voice of metal. But anyway, because they're speaking with their voice to convey a message to you. And that's one of the things I would like to try to touch on, is what are some of your favorite songs and what do they mean to the artist? What made them decide to make this song, and for what reason? And what are the meanings behind what they're trying to convey? But it's all about a matter of interpretation. It's just like art. I think art and music are quite closely related when it comes to that. It's creative, but it's also interpretation. Sometimes interpretation has some value and merit, because not everybody's going to see the same thing that somebody else does. And even so with the artist, it kind of reminds me of back in my college days, when we were doing Photoshop and learning that the programmers programmed the program to do a certain thing. And then the artist expanded upon that, learning and showing them how their program can do even more than what it was. So they got this feedback. It's like music. And actually, I think that would be a good thing to have. Having something where the fans might be a part of a song. I think that'd be phenomenal. That'd be so great, because I know that Queen used to do that with their music. They wanted an interaction with the audience. So they made it a song that was actually meant to be engaged in. So you have engagement with the audience while you're performing. And I think that right there says volumes for any musician. I think that having something that's iconic like that, like Bohemian Rhapsody, that was a phenomenal song. Oh, that's one of my all-time favorites, just because of the sheer complexity of the song. It's phenomenal. And I watched the movie where they said that's just too long, this, that, and the other. But I think it doesn't have to be a 4-minute song. I think going beyond that would be awesome. And I know a lot of people say that about Metallica. They've kind of sold out and this, that, and the other. But They were trying to explore new avenues and this, that, and the other, and they're not under any label now. So if anybody says they're selling out to anybody, I guess maybe to the general audience, they're trying to go for a bigger piece of the pie. So you can't always please this group when you're doing this kind of, it's like a certain aspect of an audience that this group likes this kind, this group likes this kind, and this group likes this kind of music. But there's a certain niche. But to me, they're trying to go like this, so it's kind of a more well-rounded type of music, I guess. So that way, a vast majority of people like it. It's like movies. It's the same way. Not everybody's gonna like certain niche movies like Pokemon Go or Scooby Doo or whatever, but something that's like Titanic. It's a little more iconic because everybody can relate to it a little bit. It's just like music. Music's the same way too with that art and everything else. So somebody might think, "Oh, that's horrific," but somebody else might say, "I love it because of this." It's kind of like things with pain, things with that's a little bit more gory. Somebody might go, "Oh my gosh, that's awful," this, that, and there. But some people look at it in the different perspective than that. They think of it as you're surviving a struggle or something, kind of like Sleeping with the Enemy from some particular band, Butcher Babies. They have one that I think I think they personally. I think that one. My personal feeling is they lost a friend, and I think that was about that a little bit. And many people that they've dealt with, and I know the one person is a grief counselor, and I think that would be awesome to have her on here to talk about that because that's a real thing. And I think she felt guilty about not seeing the signs, and she knows this stuff. She's gone to school for that. And sometimes when you're around people all the time, you get familiar with them. Sometimes you think they're putting on their best face and they know who you are. So to me personally, just so you know, Carla, it wasn't your fault. It was personally, I don't believe so, because I did see that, and I think this whole song touches on that. So it's one of those things. It's like the dark aspect of things. Sometimes you gotta see and listen and feel the emotion of the artists themselves. And sometimes the video portrays that a little bit. And sometimes it's just fun. It's just you're having a different aspect. It's like everything is not the same for everybody. And I think that's what I touched on when I was in college too. I did a public speaking speech, and I was thinking what topics I could use, and I got thinking about it. I thought there's one thing that I enjoy and I love, and I'm hoping that people understand that my speech was about metal music, and I was talking about certain key songs that I enjoyed and what they meant to me and what I perceived them from the artists themselves. And I said my whole start was metal. It's what was it? How did I put that? Metal. It's the God. I forgot how I put it. It's with a different tone of voice. It's an important message with a different tone of voice, meaning they express it with raw, pure, frustration or anger, and they got that energy, and that pulls all that, all this stuff that people usually build up and build up and build up, and then they go popping. But this, you release that energy to get it out, and that's what it's all about. And you're feeling it, and you're making it real. Is making it part of who you are when the person's telling the story. So it's like you cannot have a good story without emotion. And emotion is what drives artists and musicians and everything, whether it's good, bad, ugly, even the dark side, the deep dark, like Skinned. They do a very good job with that. They have a song called Columbine, and the lady does this ratamatata sound, but it sounds like an actual gun going off, and it makes you feel that emotion that those people might have felt the day that that was going on. It puts you in their place, and they talk about how many victims and this, that, and the other, and it sounds like it's kind of horrific, but it puts you in that place for a reason, to know what make you understand what it's really like without actually being there in harm's way. So, and with all the stuff going on in the world, we definitely need that eye opener to maybe help those people that need to be helped. And that's, like I said before, that's what happened with somebody else. They end up committing suicide, and it's not her fault because she didn't see the signs. I think sometimes they get comfortable. There's a point that they know who you are, and they try to hide it really well, and you just don't know it. Just like a lot of different artists and musicians and comedians and stuff we've lost over the years for that. I'm hoping this will help that too. Maybe we can open our eyes, open our hearts, and open our minds to make things better for everybody, including the people that really need that help, including the people that we might not understand and have had these issues and problems. And the whole Columbine thing, really personally, my personal thing, when I heard them talking about Marilyn Manson being involved, like they listened to this, that, and the other music, I was like, no, it's not quite like that. They were listening to the music because they were outcasts, and the outcasts were getting picked on. And the only reason why they were outcasts was because they were being picked on because they were different. And the reason why they were different is because maybe they weren't perfect like everybody else in high school. And I dealt with that myself personally, and I know somebody else personally that has dealt with that, and she's talked about that too, and she felt like she was ugly and she wasn't beautiful, and I relate to that totally. And that's the reason why she does what she does, and the art she does, and the things that she enjoys. See, now I'm going way over that I planned on. But the whole point is, those kids that did what they did it for a reason. They felt like they wanted that power in order to become less powerless. And nowadays with society, that people really harp on people for doing that, which I applaud them for doing. But we got to keep it in perspective. We got to keep it in check. I mean, it's good to protect people, to make sure that people are being treated fairly and appropriately, but not go so overboard that we lose sight of the whole goal in itself. To me, the goal is to help people without making everybody's life miserable and a living, because it can be, and it can be turned totally opposite, kind of like a lot of other things, that old laws and other things that we used to do a certain way may not apply now. It's like society as a whole when it comes to politics. I know a lot of people are kind of touchy-feely about that, but the way I see it is, I don't hate people. I don't like people. Well, sometimes I have arguments with people, and I do disagree with them, and I don't always like what they do, and sometimes I do kind of despise them. But I try to let that go, because letting go and saying, even though this person's not perfect and I don't agree with their opinions and their things, even if it's something downright ugly and nasty, and and it's even Hitler, unfortunately, or people like that they think they're awful people. So, well, maybe at the time they felt they were doing what they thought was right, which I don't always agree with, and I know you guys don't either. But I guess we got to look at it in such a way where we're not losing sight of the betterment of all of us as a whole, as a community, people. And we have to learn to deal with people's differences. And that's hard. It's not easy because not everybody's going to see things the same way. And but the only thing is, if we were all the same, that would be really boring, right? So hopefully, maybe that'll be a takeaway, and maybe you'll take that into and spread that to people, saying we got to accept each other for who we are, and even if we don't always agree, and maybe we don't like what they do, but be open minded. If you don't like it, and it's not being harmful to somebody, just let it go. I know that's why I've been spending a lot of time myself personally with books that I've been reading, is about that. So that's kind of like the music stuff. It's the voice, the tone. The people may not understand the metal people in the world, but when it comes down to it, we're all tight knit, we're all close, and we all look out for each other as much as we can. Just like what's his name, Chad Gray. Is it Chad Gray? Yeah, Chad. I think it's Gray. From Mudvayne and Hell Yeah, he's played on other stuff too. Is that if the guy falls down, you pick him the hell up. Basically, you do the right thing. It's not rocket science here, people. He did that right for the audience, and I'm sure he does that for all his shows now. Because if somebody falls, you help them up. You do what you need to do to make things better for the community, the people that are around you, even if you don't know who they are. They might not be exactly like you, but they still enjoy the same things. And if you don't enjoy the same things, you can always learn from it, right? Anyway, well, thanks for watching. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for hopefully not being bored out of your mind. We'll see what happens. I'm trying to keep this as energetic as possible, and not too long, which I've kind of gone over that, unfortunately. So please don't forget to like, follow, and do that for the community. Do that for me. Do that for everybody out there. And maybe we'll see where this goes. Maybe we can make this world a better place, one song at a time. Right? The voices that speak in metal for change, for hopefully a wonderful, better world, even if it's a little dark and kind of, demonic in a way, to a point, but that's what it's about. It's about expression, and art's the same way. Anyway, thanks for watching. Don't forget to follow and smash like and annihilate the like button, as Graham would say. I'm going to use that term because I like that. I've always have enjoyed that. So thanks, Graham. Thanks to all the guys in the metal industry that do what they do every day. You guys are phenomenal. And hopefully I will be talking to you in the future. We'll see what happens, right? Take care.